Hello guys, welcome to Eco Engineering channel. This is your host Shia Leilipur. In this video I'm going to teach you how to program an algorithmic trading and how to use Expert Advisor and MQL4 language to implement your strategy, and instead of, for example, sending the order and trading by yourself while your emotions are involved, using the algorithm and algorithmic trading to do that without any emotion. In this video, I teach you first how to simply just define a simple project. It is a hello world project. In the next section, we learn how to read the candles data. For example, read the open, high, low, and close of all candles throughout a certain chart. Then we learn how to define variables, and we will be familiar with the data types. We learn which data types variables can get, and we learn how to define them and work with them. Then I'll teach you how to define indicators. We learn how to define, for example, moving average or RSI indicators, or how does MACD works. And basically you will learn how to define any other indicators throughout your code. Then we learn how to work with the if conditions. Then while loop would be taught, and the next section we speak about for loops. Then switch case will come, and then we learn how to define inputs, for example, in the way that the user, instead of to give some values to a variable, change the code, they can usually just put a symbol in a new window, put a value in a new windows. Then we learn how to send order, how, for example, in the code by using a code, send a buy order or a sell order, or even how to send, for example, the pending orders such as buy limit, sell limit, buy stop, or sell stop. All of them will be taught. And then after sending an order, we will learn how to modify an order. For example, how to trail stop loss, how to even trail the take profit, or instead of, for example, closing the whole value of an open order, we can easily just close orders step by step in the intervals, some time intervals. And then we learn how to work with the functions. Some codes can be repeated in several strategies, and instead of, for example, writing them in each of these strategy for each projects, we can just write them once and use them in our codes again, and easily just calling them. We then learn how to define includes. Basically, they are libraries that save the function in themselves. And then I introduce you a strategy, and we code it together. After programming this strategy, we learn how to use strategy tester to test this strategy throughout the past datas. If this is your first time that watching our channel, I would really appreciate if you click on subscribe button and hit the bell button, so whenever we upload a new video, you will receive a notification and you can easily have access to them. In our channel, we upload videos regarding lucrative forex and cryptocurrencies strategy, along with teaching you how to program them with MQL4, MQL5 language, or even using Python. And if you have any suggestion, I would really appreciate if you leave me a comment. I will read them and consider them, and it will really help us to improve our channel. Throughout the time path, I leave the link to specific videos in the description of this video. So I update the description of this video regularly, and I suggest you to check it regularly. Of course, this video is designed for beginners, but for advanced and expert levels, I upload others video that you can find them in the description. And I will again really appreciate at the end of this video if you like it, hit the like button, so the YouTube algorithm will introduce us to those people who are interested in this subject. And do not forget to introduce us to your friends. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay with us till the end. So the first thing that we talk about is how to open a project, and then the first project that you write is a hello world project. At the moment we are in the MetaTrader. To access to MetaCode language editor, we can press F4 button, or with this button we can access to Meta Editor. The Meta Editor windows would be opened. Here we have toolbox which have some descriptions, error, search, and articles, and in the navigator. In the navigator we have several folders. As we continue our teaching, I tell you each of these folder contains what. But at the moment we only click on new to open a new project. By clicking on new, this wizard windows would be open, and the first one is Expert Advisor template, custom indicators, scripts, library, includes new class, Python script, and database. The most important ones are Expert Advisor, scripts, library, and includes. And at the moment we only focus on the scripts. Scripts are completely similar with the Expert Advisor. The main difference between script and Expert Advisor is that script would execute the code only once, and it is when you run the script. But in the Expert Advisor, whenever you run Expert Advisor, the code would be executed whenever the price change. So in each price tick, we would have a code which is run for one time. I choose script, and then in the script after that I give the script a name. It would be Expert Advisor Test, and click on finish. This window is open. Here we have some properties. At the moment we do nothing with them. The next section is void on start. When we drag and drop the file, as we see in the continuing, the code which is written here would be executed once. So the first function and the first code that we are going to learn is an alert. Alert is a predefined function. I will completely teach you when I speak about functions, but at the moment you just learn how to use alert. We write alert with a capital and then two parentheses, semicolon, and we write two quotation mark, and in it we write hello world. So this is the first code that we wrote, and by clicking on compile, this code would be ready to be executed. So I go to Meta Editor. In the script section we have an Expert Advisor sections. Whenever we wrote an Expert Advisor code, it would appear here, but now we selected a script and our code is here in this section. I click on the plus and it would be open. Here we have our script. Its name was Expert Advisor Test. If I double click on it or drag and drop it in these windows, the code would be executed once, and it was hello world. I wrote here hello world. Now, instead of saying hello world, we want to read the candles data. How we would do it? For example, the high is equal to. In alert, in the quotations mark, we wrote the high is equal to, and then we use a plus here. After the plus, I write high with these two brackets. In these brackets, we write numbers. 0, for example, 1, 2, and so on. What does it mean? 0 means the high of first candle. the high of first candle. This candle's number is 0. This candle number is 0. Number of this candle is 0. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So when I use high 0, it means go and read the high of this candle. Here you can see it, or we can open data windows. Here, if I can see the high of this candle here. The high of this candle is 1.14831. So if I compile this code, and drag and drop here, I can see here that the high is equal to 1.4831. I could see it here too. If I put the cursor on the first candle, the high is equal to this one. And if I, for example, write 3, this is the 0, 1, 2, and 3. This is the 3. High is equal 1.12779. And if I run it and drag and drop the script here, I can see that the high is equal to 1.12779. And we can read the low of the candles by this word, low. Remember that it is written in capital letter. And of course, here we must write the low is equal. What is in the bracket doesn't affect your code, but it just helps to visualize it better. So by compiling it and double clicking on it, the code would be run, and it is said that the low is equal to 1.122, and it was for candle number 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, the low is equal to 1.2200. So we have the same thing for open in capital, and for example here we want to read the open of the candle with number 1, and here we write it open. Compiling it and drag and drop it here. The open is equal to 1.13031 for the candle number 10, and this is candle number 1. As you can see, the open is equal to 1.13031. We have the same thing for close 2. Close, for example, this time for candle number 2, and here we write close. The close is equal to, and double clicking on our script or drag and drop it here, 0, 1, 2. And we can see that the close is equal to 1.13030. Now imagine that we use close of the third candle throughout the whole code, for example 10 times like that, but throughout the whole code, and then suddenly we decide, instead of using, for example, the close of the third candle, use the close of the first candle. If we write it down like that, we have to change all of them manually, and it is not efficient. Instead of doing so, we use variable like that. For example, I explain how many different data types the variable can have, but at the moment we, for example, give it the data type of double. This is the type of the variable. The name of the variable, for example, we give it the number 1, and it is equal to close. It is equal to this, for example. And we close the line with semicolon, and then here, instead of using close 1, we directly use the number one variable. It is exactly the same, and here we would have the an alert that show the number 1 and compile it. Here if you test our script, we would have exactly the close is equal to the close for the second candle with the number 1. And if we have, for example, this code several times throughout our code, this line several times throughout our code, now if, for example, we want to change close of number 1 to, for example, close of number 6, then all of them would change, and we are not supposed to change all of them manually. We just change it here one time, and for the whole code it would change. Now we explain about the data types. A number, variable, which data types can have. Most of the time for the price we use double, because double is a real variable. We use double for real numbers when we have, for example, 0.345 to show the numbers behind the point, we must have a double. So the most important data types that we use are double, integer, string, color, date and time. Well, I explained them one by one. We start with the integer. We defined number 2, for example, equal to 4. And number 1 is, for example, integer, and it is equal to 8. We define number 3 too. Number 3 is integer, and it is equal to integer number 3, and it is equal to the sum of number 1 and number 2. We close it with semicolon. The type of number 3 is integer, and it is the sum of number 1 and number 2, and we want to see it in our alert. We put it here, and we write here the number is equal number 3, and I just use an empty alert to see it better. So I compile it and drag and drop it here. As you can see here, the number is equal to 12, because number 4 plus 8 is equal to 12. Now we can use minus and then compile it. And here the number is equal to 4. Why? Because number 1 is 8, number 2 is 4. 8 minus 4 is equal to 4. We can use multiply, number 1 multiply number 2. It would be equal to 32. The number is equal to 32. And number 1 divide to number 2, it would equal to 2. So now imagine that number 1 is 8.45, this number. If I compile it, the number 3 is equal to number 1 plus number 2. We must see 12.458. But if I compile it and drag and drop it here, I only see 12 because number 3 and number 1, both of them are not integer anymore. We are using a number with point, with the number behind the points. So for the numbers that are not integer, we must use, and they are real, we must use double data type. And here it should be double data type. And we can, for example, use double for number 2. And here, instead of, for example, 4, we can use 4.0. Now, I compile it and drag and drop it here. And you can see that the number is equal to 12.458. When we want to see characters, for example, here, I want to have a character variable, I use string. For example, string the name is equal to, by character we must use these marks and close it. Here, for example, I write my name. Then I use the name here. When I compile it, and of course we must here, for example, write a meaningful sentence, and I say the name of programmer is, and here I must see my name. Compile it and drag and drop it here. As we can see, the name of programmer is Chia Leilipur, and I press OK. Most of the time we only use these type of data types, but the date and time and color are important too. When we continue programming and teaching you how to use MQL for language, I teach you how to work with the with the color data type and date and time data types. But at the moment, I think this is enough for you, and we continue our teaching with these variables. But you can search in Google, open Google. If you search MQL for references and go to MQL website, here in language basics and data types, you can see all the data types which can be defined in MQL here. For integers, integers contain integer itself, long, unsigned character, unsigned short, unsigned integer, and all of them. But most of the time we use integer. For logical, we have Boolean. Boolean means, for example, when it is Boolean, for example, is, we have a variable name is trading, okay, and it is Boolean. It can only accept two value, one or 0, or instead of 1 or 0 we can use true, which is equal to 1, or false, which is equal to 0. So a Boolean data type only have two values, 0 and 1, or false or true. And here string, we have string. For real numbers we can use double or float data types. For real numbers we have double and float data types. The difference between these data types are going back to their amount of memory that they use, amount of the bits that they are using, and these bits are using to indicates the number, for example, the positive numbers, or it contains the negative numbers. For example, unsigned integer only contain the positive numbers. But they are not important. To be honest, most of the time, 95% of the time, we only use integer, double, character, color, and date and time variables, and enum when we have several, for example, several variables that they all contain the same features. For example, all of them contain the name of students of the class, for example, or all of them, for example, contain the close of 10 candles in a row. We use the enum instead of, for example, defining all of them one by one. We define several variables in one enum data type. So now imagine that instead of these numbers, we only have number 2, and it is integer. So we don't need the point here. Number 2 is integer. I want to add number 2 with 1. I want it to be 5. So how to do it? We write number 1 again, number 2 again, and we say that it is equal to, again, number 2 plus 1, and we close it. What does it mean? First of all, the code reached to this line 18, and then it gives number 2 4. Number 2 would be 4. Then in the next line, number 2 here is 4. Add 1 to number 2, and it would be 4. Then again save the result into number 2. So number 2 would be 5 after this line, and we can see it here. Equal to. And if I compile and drag and drop it into the window, as we can see here, the number 2 is equal to, number is equal to 5. Of course, we gave it 4, but then we add 1 to it, and again save it in the same variable, which is number 2, and it would be 5. We can do it like this too, using plus plus. I omit this line, and again plus plus and close it. With these two signs, it means that do not execute this line, and we pass line 20, and when we compiling it, we wouldn't execute line 20, and we directly go to line 21. This two line is exactly the same. Plus plus mean add 1 to the variable and save it again in it. So if I compile it again and run it, as we can see here, number 2 is equal 5. We can use minus minus. Minus minus exactly is the same with this one here. Number 2 equal to number 2 minus 1. It means subtract number 2 with 1, and these two lines is exactly the same. If I compile it, I would have 3. The result would be 3, as you can see here. In this section, I'm going to teach you how to use indicators and how to define them. We learn how to define the RSI and moving average indicator, and then you see that you can use other indicators based on these two indicators, and using the help of MetaTrader and the MQL references website. So remember that almost always the indicators return a real value. So first we define, for example, for moving average, we define a double variable named moving average, and it is equal to, then we define the moving average. The moving average will be defined like that. I moving average. As you can see, the color changed to green. It means it is a predefined function. So first, I double click on I moving average and press F1 to see the help and learn how to parameterize the moving average indicator. This is the help of moving average. It calculates the moving average indicator and return its value. It has several parameters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The first one is symbol. You must define which symbol do you want to use. You want to find moving average of which symbol. So the first section is symbol. We can use, for example, we don't know. We can use null and then column. Null means I don't know which share or pair I'm going to use. When you use null, automatically meta editor use the pair or share that you are running this script or this expert advisor on it. If I drag and drop expert advisor on, for example, Euro USD, here would be Euro USD, the string of Euro USD. Instead of null, we can use this predefined function symbol with two parentheses. Symbol, as you can see, the color is changed because it's a predefined function too. But remember that we must use these two parentheses for predefined functions. It's exactly mean the null because this symbol is a predefined function and it returns the name of share or pair that this script is drag and drop into it. If I drag and drop it here, it would return symbol return Euro USD. If I drag and drop it on, for example, Nasdaq, it would return the name of Nasdaq in a string form. Or we can directly use the string form, for example, like this, USD. Or, for example, Bitcoin. Here, BTC USD. BTC. So we can define these sections with this three way. I usually use symbol, and then column, and then the next section is time frame. Which time frame do you want to use? You want to find the moving average in which time frame? I open the help window. Here the time frame. How we can define the time frame? This section is about the symbol, the time frame here, E9 time frame. If I click on it, I can open it. We can, if I write 0, it means current time frame. If I write 1, it means M1, 1 minute time frame, and so on. But instead of using this number, because I want it to be very sensible, and I find out what have I done. For example, 3 or 6 months later, after I write the code, I use the name of them. If I use this name, period underline current, it means the current time frame, the time frame that you drag and drop the expert advisor in the window. Or for example, you can choose, for example, period H1. It means find and return the value of moving average in 1 hour time frame. But here I want to use period current. So here I write period current column. Now it is period. Here it's period and it is written integer. We should enter an integer value here, and this period is a hint for us. We should use period. You want to find the moving average, for example, for the 14 candles before. I use, for example, 14. It means go and find out the moving average of the last 14 candles. Shift, I use 0. Method. If I open the help window again, in the method sections here, it can be any of enum, moving average, method, enumeration, values. If I click on it, it says that if you use 0 here, it means moving average, simple moving average. If I enter 1, it means moving mode EMA. Here is exponential average, simple averaging. If you are familiar with the moving average indicator, then you know we have this adjustment when we configure our moving average indicator. So if I close it, here I use mode, and if I write 3 words, it will give us the suggestion, and we can choose, for example, here SMA means simple moving average. Then the next one is enum applied price. Enum applied price. You want to apply price, for example, here if I click on it, if I put 0, it means price of the close, averaging for the close of every candles. If I use 1 here, it means price of open. We usually use the price of the close price for calculating the moving average and RSI, or basically any other indicators. So I use price close. And the last one is shift. The last but not least. Shift means start counting. For example, here we have 14. It means averaging 14 candle before, calculating moving average for 14 candles. But here, if it is 0, it means start counting from the first candle. Start counting from here. Count 14 candles and then find out the moving average. But if I here put 1, it means start counting from here. Go back for 14 candles. If I insert moving average here, moving average, and it is, for example, 14. Okay, and data windows here. This moving average is 41,236. For the second candle, it is 41,272. It means that if I use 0 in the last section, it means moving average for this candle, but if I use 1, it means the moving average for the second candle, and so on. So the shift is like that, and we can have an alert to show it. The moving to, and here plus this moving average variable which we defined, and I compile it and we check the result. You can check the alert with the number that we have here. Remember that here is 1, so it shows us this moving average, not this moving average. The moving average corresponding with the second candle. So I drag and drop our script. It says that moving average is equal to this number, 41,272. I can round it. How? We have another function named Normalize Double, because we don't want to have all of these points. So to avoiding that, I use this line of code like this. First, I want to round this value. I use Normalize Double. If I write 3 words of it, it would give me the suggestion, and I can use Normalize Double. And Normalize Double is defined like that. First, the value that we want to round, it is moving average. I write it here. And the next one is digits, and it is integer. Here, it was see that it is very important to attention to what is written here. Here is written, for example, for the first section it is written value, and the type is double. Here It is digits and the type is integer. So you can't use, for example, 4.0 here. It is wrong. We must use an integer value and it is 4. But I want to see, for example, 2 number after the point. So I use 2 here. And I want to put the value calculated here again in the moving average because I want to show it. So I use this method. First, it round the moving average here, and then it put the value calculated here again in the moving average. And then it shows it here. I compile it, and again, drag and drop it here. Now we have only 2 number after the point. And as you can see here, 41,272. So this is how we define a moving average indicator. For RSI moving average, we have the same method. Let me deactivate this line. Now again, I define a variable named double. Its name is RSI indicator, and it is equal to IRSI. As you can see, immediately after I write IRS, it suggests me IRSI. Remember, I here is not capital. And then parenthesis. The first section is symbol. Its name is symbol, and it is a string. It is a string, exactly like moving average. I use symbol here. Then int time frame. What time frame do you want? If I double click on IRSI, or basically double click on any predefined function and pressing F1, you can see the help, and they are very useful. You must learn how to use the help because everything can be found on the help of MQL, and its references are very complete. So the second one is time frame. If I click on it, again, exactly the same with the moving average. It says that you can use the number, or you can use what we have in the ID sections, the name. I use the name because I want to see it. I find it very efficient and useful to see the name instead of seeing a number. Then the next one is period, and the type is integer. You want to find RSI for how many candles? I want to find it, for example, 20 candles. And RSI for 20 candles. And then in applied price, again, exactly the same with the moving average. I want to apply RSI for the close. And then the last and not least is shift. From which candle do you want to start counting 21 candle? I want to start counting from the first one. So, and I can I deactivate this line, and I use it again because I want to normalize it. I will use this predefined function named Normalize Double. Now I use RSI indicator here, and I want to I don't want to have any number after the point, and close it with semicolon. Now I write here the RSI is equal to, and here instead of this variable I copy and paste RSI indicator here because I want to see the value of this indicator. I compile it. I open, for example, here I have an indicator, RSI indicator. I change its parameter because at the moment the period is 14. I want it to be 21, and click OK. If I drag and drop it here, so it is written that the RSI is equal to 31. The RSI for first candle is 31, but it is changing because the market is open. So I use, for example, 2. Calculate the RSI for third candle. Again, I drag and drop it here. It is written 25. This is the first one, second one, and third one. It is 24.73 and it is rounded to 25. If I use normalize double here 2, I can see the exact number, 24.73, and you can see it exactly in the data window. Now, how many different indicators we can use in MQL and MetaTrader? You can simply search MQL for indicators in the Google and then go to the documents of the MQL4 and click on it, and here in MQL4 references technical indicators, you can see that we have too many indicators and we can use all of them. They are basically very the same. Using them are very the same with these 2 indicators that I mentioned, but you can read them. You must read them. You must read how to use the help, how to use the reference of MQLs. For example, here MACD, if I click on it, again we have the same thing. The first section is the symbol, then time frame, then here we must enter a number. It is integer and it indicate fast moving average period, and so on. So remember to read all of them. You can, by reading them, learn how to use them. In this video we don't have enough time to cover all of them, but they mostly are the same. Now we talk about the conditions. For example, we want to execute a code when something happened, when some conditions was true. The first conditions that we are talking about is if condition. So how does it work? We write if to parentheses. In the parentheses we say whatever was true here, then execute the codes that is between 2 brackets. So first of all, the conditions is here, the condition or the conditions are here, then the code is here. For example, I want to execute to buy if the price is higher than, for example, in this case, it is Bitcoin. If the price is higher than 40,000, I want to buy, and if it is less than 30,000, I want to sell. And if it is between 30 and 40, I don't want to do anything. It's just an example, simple example. How to do it? In the condition sections, I write if the ask. This ask is predefined function, and it gives us the ask for the specific pair or share. Here the ask, this ask. If ask is greater than 40,000, I want to have an alert. When we continue our teaching, I teach you how to exactly send an order, how to buy, how to send a buy order, how to send a sell order. But here we just want to have an alert, and we close it. We write down send a buy order, and we can say copy paste it and say if, for example, because in this case we want to sell, and then we write we use bid. If bid is less than 30,000, alert, send sell order. And if a bid is less than 30,000, send a sell order. And I copy and paste it here. I want to, if bid is greater than 30,000, and at the same time, this means the first section must be true and the second sections must be true too. The second section is if ask less than 40,000, do nothing. These are our conditions. We can use, for example, here if ask is less and equal to 40,000. Just remember this two sign means and. It means to run this code, both of these conditions must be true. At the same time, bid must be greater than 30,000 and ask must be less than 40,000. But if we want to have an or conditions, we must use this two sign. In this case, it means whether this condition is true or this one, execute this line of code. Any of them is when any of them is true, this code would be executed. But if we are using and, both of them at the same time must be true to execute this line of code. Compile it and go to the Bitcoin windows. Here, as we can see that at the moment the price of the Bitcoin is higher than 40,000, then we must have the alert that it shows that send buy order. I drag and drop it here, and as we can see, send a buy order. We order our expert advisor to send a buy order. But for example, when we execute this expert advisor on gold, because the gold is less than 30,000, we will have an alert indicating send a sell order. I executed, I drag and drop our expert advisor in this window, and as you can see here, send a sell order. When the order is between 30,000 and 40,000, it would show do nothing. As you can see here, we have several conditions, we have several signs in our conditions here, and how many signs do we have? If we want to check two price or two value are equal or not, we use two equal. It means, for example, I delete this section. I want to, when ask is equal to 40,000, send a sell order. Why? For example, we send a buy order and after a while we reach to 40,000 and we realize that 40,000 is a resistance, and we realize that the big players are selling and we decide to sell because we are in the resistance, and we send a sell order when ask is equal to 40. What is the difference between one equal? What is the difference between ask equal, for example, 40,000, or I can, for example, use some number 2 or number 1, 40,000. What's the difference between this and this? The first one means put 40,000 into number 2 variable, but the second one means check if number 2 is equal to 40,000 or not. We usually don't use this line alone. We use it in the parentheses with the conditions, and it checks whether ask is equal to 40,000 or not. If it is equal to 40,000, it means that these conditions in the parenthesis is true. Then it go and execute what is between these brackets. We can use is not equal with this sign. If ask, for example, is not equal to 40,000, and if x, for example, here is less than y, x is greater than y, x is less or equal to y, x is greater or equal to y. These are the conditions operators. And I come back here. We have another things that I should show you. For example, here we say if ask is greater or equal to 40,000, I delete it. Send a sell order. Otherwise, for example, else. Else, if these conditions was not true, then go and execute this section. If ask is not greater and equal to 40,000, send an alert and say simply do nothing. And as I told you, when we continue our teaching, we teach you how to send real orders. In this case, or we can here, for example, say 50,000, so we can see the result of else, because in this case, I want to execute this expert advisor on Bitcoin, and as the Bitcoin price is less than 50,000, it wouldn't execute these sections, and it would execute the else conditions and lines. I compile it and I check it here on Bitcoin. If I drag and drop expert advisor test on the Bitcoin, as we can see that it is written do nothing, because the if condition was not true. The if condition was not true, and it executed the else section. Well, now we are talking about while loop. First, we learn how to define a while loop, and then we talk about how it works. First, I define an integer. The integer is counter. It's a counter variable, and its type is integer. First, it is equal to 0. We close it. Then we define a while condition. While, two parentheses, and then two brackets. The condition in the parentheses would be defined, and I define it like this. For example, if while counter is less than, for example, 5, go and check whatever is between these brackets. First, alert. The counter is equal to plus the counter value here, and then we close it with semicolon. And after that, I want to have counter plus plus. As I mentioned in the last section, it will add 1 to the counter, and then I use a predefined function named sleep. Sleep is a predefined function. in this parenthesis we give the interval in milliseconds. For example, 1000 milliseconds mean wait here for 1 second. 2000 milliseconds means wait here for 2 milliseconds. 2 second or 2000 millisecond. How does it work? So first it defines a variable name counter, and the first value that it has is 0. Then come to the while condition. It check if the counter is less than 5. Yes, it is 0 now and it is less than 5. Then it execute whatever is between the brackets. First it sends an alert, then it add 1 to the counter and counter would be 1. Then wait for 1 second and again repeat the while loop. Now it check counter is 1, it's still less than 5. Then again execute these sections, and for the next iteration counter would be 2, for the next iteration it would be 3, then for the next iteration it would be 4, and for the next iteration after that it would be 5. For 5 it will check if 5 is less than 5. No, it's not less than 5, it is equal to 5. If we had less and equal to 5, then it would check again these sections. But as we don't have equal here, when counter is equal to 5, the inside of parentheses would not be true, it would be false. Then it pass this while and go out of the while and continue to executing the code. So I compile it and we see the results. If I drag and drop it here, the expert advisor test, counter is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it stop the while loop and continue the code. And we can, for example, here define another alert. I copy paste the alert here, and we can say, for example, the code is over, and wait 2 milliseconds so we can see it better. Compile it, and again 0 after 2 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the code is over. Remember, for while loop we execute a certain amount of code while a condition or some conditions are true. But for loops we execute a certain amount of code for a certain iteration. For example, we execute the code 4 times, 5 times, 10 times, and it is known for us how many times you want to execute it. I show you the template of defining a for loops, you remember it, and then I explain how does it work. For example, here we write for and 2 parentheses in the for. First we define a counter. Its type is integer and its name is, for example, here I, or it can be anything else. Then a semicolon. Then we write the conditions. While I is less and equal to 14, again semicolon, I plus plus. Here we can give I a primary value. For example, it can start with 0. So then 2 brackets, and what is between the brackets would be executed for this certain amount of iteration. So here first I define, for example, an RSI indicator, and it is for example RSI 40. I can just write RSI 14, and it is equal to IRSI SI, and I give its parameter, for example, symbol. Time frame is period current because I want to execute it in the current time frame. I want to find 14, RSI 14, and applied price is for close. So price close, and the last section is very important. Here, as I mentioned, is shift. Shift means start counting from which candle. So here, instead of giving a certain number, I write just I, because here when I is 0, I want to return the RSI for the first candle. If I is 1, I want to return the RSI for the second candle, and so on. And then I want to have an alert to show us the RSI. The RSI is equal to RSI 14. And then I want it to sleep for 1000 milliseconds, and I compile it. How does it work? First, the for loop works like this. First, it gives the I integer, which is our counter, 0, and then it checks if this condition is true or not. First, I is 0 and 0 is less than 14, and then it executes this line of code. When it reaches to the end of the code, it come back and it would plus I, and I would be 1. Then it again check whether I is equal then is less than 14 or not. I is 1, and yes, it is less than 14, and it's repeat this for loop until this condition is not true anymore, and then it stop executing this for loop and continue from here, and we can have an alert that it says the code is over. To see the result better, we can normalize RSI, because I want to have only 2 digits after the point, and for this purpose we can use normalize double like that, and 2 digits. So I compile it and then I execute it. So we saw 14 RSI. It shows us the RSI for each candle. The first candle RSI is 69.45. The second RSI is 68.64. The third one is 63.80, and so on. We saw the 15th last RSIs because it's count from 0 to 14. The number 14 is equivalent with the 15th candle because the number starts from 0. The first candle has 0 and the 15th candle's number is 14. So in this case, I want to manipulate our code and see whether in the, for example, last 30 candles we have a cross to overbought area or we have a cross to oversold area. For this purpose, I change the name. For example, it is first RSI, and then I copy and paste it here, and it is second RSI. And remember, first RSI is this RSI, the RSI corresponding to the candle with lower number. Second RSI is the RSI for the candle corresponding to the higher number. And their number is, if, for example, the first RSI number is 0, the second RSI number would be 1 higher. If it is 0, the second RSI number is 1. If it is 2, the second RSI is 3. And I want to start this process from the second candle, because the first candle's RSI always change, and I don't believe in its value unless the candle close and we have a permanent value for its RSI. So I usually start counting from the second RSI always for my strategies. So first RSI, for the first iteration, the first RSI is the RSI for the first candle, the second RSI is the RSI for the second candles. Then for the next iteration, first RSI is for candle number 1, the second RSI is for candle number 2. Next iteration, first RSI would be the RSI for candle number 2, and the second RSI would be the RSI for candle number 3, and so on. I want to run this for loop for 30 candle, and then I want to normalize first RSI, and then I want to normalize the second RSI. I just copy paste them. And now I want to have a if condition. In this section, I want to use for loop and if condition at the same time. If, two parentheses, second RSI is less than 70, and first RSI is, it is less, and first RSI is greater than 70. What does it mean? What does it mean? When, for example, here, this RSI is 69.33, next RSI is 77.03. It means we have a cross in this condition. When this condition is true, when the second RSI is less than 70 and the second RSI is more than 70, it means we have a cross to the overbought area. If it is true, two brackets, I want to have an alert across to over about area happened between candle plus candle number I, and again learn these structures too. I explain more. And plus I plus 1. What is between quotations mark are steady and they wouldn't change, but these i's and these I plus 1 for each iterations changed. And when this condition is true, this alert would be executed. We have another one for oversold area, and I copy and paste it. I say if second RSI is greater than 30 and first RSI is less than 30, it means a cross to oversold area happened between candle I and I plus 1. And I delete this section. So how does it work? For the first iteration, remember that we execute this line of code for 30 times, and then in each section, in each iteration, first we define a first RSI for RSI number I, and then the second RSI for RSI number I plus 1. And we normalize them, and then we check if second RSI is less than 70 and first RSI is greater than 70, it means that we have a cross to overbought area. But if, in the other hand, if the second RSI, like here, if the second RSI is greater than 30, here it is 31.24, and the next RSI is less than 30, here is 28.70, it means that we have a cross to oversold area and we want to have its alert. And I compile it. We don't have any errors. So I compile it, and I think it is better to deactivate this line of code. I compile it and I drag and drop it into, for example, 4 hour Euro USD. If I drag and drop it, I would see a cross to oversold area happened between candle 5 and 6. So we start counting between 5 and 6. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Between these two candles, if I 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, between these two candles, we have a cross in the RSI to oversold area. Candle number 6, RSI is 31.59, but the RSI for the candle number 5 is 26.82, and we have a cross to oversold area. But we can check whether we have a cross, for example, to overbought area or not. And so here for the gold, if I drag and drop it, I think we would have an alert for crossing to overbought area. If I drag and drop it here, no, because we must count more. For example, 100. I want to check for 100 last candle. If I drag and drop it here, we have several crossing. Between candle number 40 and 41, we have a cross to overbought area. For candle number 57 and 54, for 53 and 54, we have a cross to overbought area. For candles number 59 and 60 again, and for 48 and 49, we have a cross to overbought area. So to see this section better, we can place a space here so it can be seen better. Two space. Again, for example, and again here, for example, if I write 50 to see its result, this is the result, the last one. We have an overbought, we have a cross to overbought area between candle number 40 and 41. Here is how we can use for loops. In this section, I'm going to teach you how to use switch case. We use switch case when we have a variable, for example, and we want for this variable and its different values do some operations. For example, when it is 1, do something. When it is 2, do another things. And when it is 3, another operation must be done. So how we are going to do this? First, I define two different number. Their type is double. Number 1, and for example, the initial value is 2. Double number 2, initial value is, for example, 5. And number 3, it has no initial value. And then I write switch like that, and then two quotation. In this parenthesis, we must write the value which conditions are going to run based on its value. For example, here I define an integer number and its name is operator, and this is very simple. For example, if in this case it is 1, and in the switch section I write operator, then again two brackets. In the brackets we have cases. For example, here, for case 1, number 3, here it is number 3. Number 3 is equal to the addition of number 1 and number 2. Number 1 plus number 2. And then we must use break. Remember to close them. For the case that operator is equal to 2. Case 2, I want to use subtraction. Number 1 minus number 2, and then again use break. Close it with semicolon. For case 2, we must here use this sign. For case 3, I want to use multiplication. And for case 4, I want to use division, and number 1 divided to number 2, and use brick. And after it's over, so we can use another variable here. I think it would be useful. It's string, and it is operator name. And I close it. Then for case 1, I give the operator name. It is equal to addition. And then for case 2, it is subtraction. For the case 3, it is multiplication. And for case 4, yes, it is division. And then I want to have an alert, and in the alert we write like this: the result of, then plus operator name, then plus a space, and a space here can help us to see it better. And we start this here with this another space. The result of operator name is equal to, again, plus number 3. So in this case, as number 1 is 2 and number 3 is 5 and operator is equal to 1, then it would execute the case equivalent with 1, it is case 1, and add number 1 with number 2, and it put the value in number 3. And here in this alert we see that the result of addition is equal to number 3, and number 3 would be 7. If I compile it and drag and drop our script here, the result of addition is equal to 7. Remember, this 7 and this operator name come from our code, but the result of and is equal to, they are constant, and we cannot change it. If the operator is equal to, for example, 2, and I drag and drop it here, the result of subtraction is equal to -3. For 3, and for example, if if number 1 be 4, the result of multiplication is equal to 20. And if it is 10 and operator be equal to 4, the result of division is equal to 2. We must notice that it is not efficient to change the value of operator or number 2 or number 1 directly in the code. We prefer to be able to change it whenever we drag and dropped the expert advisor or script in the windows of the share or pair. When I drag and dropped it, I prefer to be able to put, for example, to give a value to number 1 or number 2, or to choose the operator. For this case, we must learn how to use inputs In the next section, I explain you how to use inputs and we learn how to use them. So in last section, we learned how to use switch case, but now we want to learn how to parameterize the number 1 and number 2 an operator whenever we drag and drop the script or expert advisor in the share windows or pair windows. It's not efficient to change them throughout the code, or maybe we don't have access to the source code and we just want to give some parameter, give some number to number 1 and number 2. In this case, first of all, we must define the variables before the void on start, and this one I just copy and paste them to the out of void section, and I use extern. I write extern before the data type. Extern double number 1 equal to 10, and for the second one again extern double number 2 equal to 10, and for operator again extern int operator equal to 4. Remember, if I compile it, still if I drag and drop it here, I wouldn't have anything because it is equal to 2. The result of division is equal to 2, but I couldn't still change the number. We must define a property here. The property would be defined like that: sharp property script show input. We must define this property, and if I compile it and again drag and drop it here, now I have the input section here, which I can give parameter to number 1, number 2, and operator. I can, for example, give it 20, and number 2 is equal to, for example, 15, and 3 to multiply them. And if I press OK, I will receive this message: the result of multiplication is equal to 300. Again, for example, 16, 10, and 2. The result of subtraction is equal to 6. We can change them. But what is the difference between extern and input? We can use input too. Input. Let's the operator stay extern. If I compile it, I still can do whatever I want. For example, the result of division is equal to 10. But the difference between input and extern is if I use input for a variable, then throughout the code, I'm not able to change the number of the variable value. For example, here, if I change number 1 to, for example, 14, I would have error. I would have an error because it is input. I can parameterize it throughout the windows when I drag and drop it, when I drag and drop the script to the for example share windows, but I cannot change it throughout the code. But for extern variables, I wouldn't have this problem, and I simply, after parameterizing it, I can still change it throughout the code. If I deactivate, for example, this line, and then for operator, I can easily give, for example, 1. And if I compile it, even if the operator or the user, even if the user give, for example, 3 to the operator, 1 would be run for it, because throughout the code I change it. For example, in this case, I give it 4. I want to see the division, but when the code is running, it reaches to here it would be 4, and then it come down, and when it reaches to line 24, again it gives 1 to operator, and it continues the code while the operator is equal to 1. So again, although it is 4, but instead of 2 we would have 15. The result of addition is equal to 15. So this is the difference between input and extern. So in this section we are going to learn how to send an order, whether it is sell or buy order, whether it is buy stub or buy limit, or sell stub or sell limit. First I delete these sections. Now, actually it is very simple. We just use order send, and very similar to RSI and moving average predefined function. Here we again for the first section of this predefined function we have symbol. It is string, and we want to send this order in which symbol. We can say null, and it will automatically use the parameter of the corresponding windows which the script or expert advisor is running on it, or I use usually symbol here. Then the next one, cmd integer. If I double click on it and press F1, what is CMD? Operation. Whether you want to buy or sell. If I, in the CMD section, command section, click on trade option, it will tell us if you use 0, it will be a buy operation. If you use 1, it would be sell operation, and 2, buy limit, sell limit, buy stub and sell stub in order. But instead of using these values, I prefer to use the ID. So next time I solve my code, I can easily realize what have I done here. So I say operator buy or operator sell. Here, for example, we want to send an buy order, op buy. I want to send a buy order, and then volume, and it must be double. For example, I want to buy 1 lot. In which price? Here, because we want to buy, the buy would be run in ask price. But if the operator will sell, we must use bid price. We want to run this order in the bid price. So then slippage, we don't want to have any slippage. Stop loss, I want to be ask minus 200 point, or it means 20 pips, 200 points or 20 pips. This is how we define it. Ask minus 200 points. I want to stop loss be in the 20 pips under ask. So then what would be the take profit? I say, for example, ask plus 400 point. Here risk to reward would be 2. And then what comment do you have here? For example, we can say you can explain why we have sent this order, but here I don't want to have any comment. Magic number, I give it, for example, 1000. Then when I explain how to modify our order, you can see how this magic number can be useful. Date and time expiration, I give it 0. We can give the time, for example, if the order, if it is a, for example, stop order or limit order, and the limit has not fulfilled for longer than, for example, 1 day, I want to close it and give it an expiration time. But here we don't have any expiration time. And then which color I give it 0 and close it. If I run this script, I would send a buy order with 1 lot. So I compile it. I'll go here and then expert advisor. If I drag and drop it here, I wouldn't have any order because here this button is deactivate. Auto trading. To be able to send order with expert advisor or throughout code and using script, you must activate this button here. If I activate it and then again run it and then press OK, you can see that we have sent an order, a buy order, but we can do it much more efficient. Here, for example, I can say if orders total is equal to 0, then command execute this code. Execute this code. So first I define lot size. For example, it is equal to, or instead of defining lot size here, we can have the lot size as an input. Here, double extern double lot size. For example, the initial value, for example, here is 0.1 lots. And instead of using 1 lot here in order send, we just simply copy and paste the variable of lot size here. So we can, before running it, we can parameterize it and we can give a certain amount of lot. So again, if I compile it and drag and drop it here, for example, here I want to send a buy order with 2 lot. If I press OK, I wouldn't have any order. No order would be run because here I have a condition. If orders total, this orders total is a predefined function and it returns the number of open orders. At the moment we have an open order, and so the condition here is 1 is equal to 0. No, it's not equal. So what is between the parentheses is not true. So this condition would not be run. But if I close it and the number of open orders is 0, then this condition would be true. And if I drag and drop it here, I can give it, for example, 2 lot. I want to have a buy order with 2 lot size. And if I press OK, then I can open a buy order. And then if I close it, I can, for example, again a little manipulate our code. Extend, for example, Boolean. Is by, and it is true. Is by, if it is true, it means if it is by variable is true, it means send a buy order. But if it is false, it means send a sell order. So now I can define 2 other ifs. Is by equal to true, then use again 2 parentheses here, send a buy order. But if is by is not true, or instead of is not true, we can say is equal to false. Both of them are true. We can use both of them, but in this case I use not equal, so you can be familiar with this type of code too. If it's not true, here send a sell order, but we must notice that if this line of code at the moment ran, it wouldn't execute any order because we are sending a sell order, but the stop loss is less than entry point. When we send a sell, the stop loss must be higher than entry point. So first, because it is a sell order, sell must be, the entry point for sell is bid, and then the stop loss must be higher than the entry point, bid plus 200 points, and take profit must be less than entry point. And magic number is not important. Just for the buy order I give it 1000, and for the sell order I give it 1001. And now if I compile it and I drag and drop it, we can say is buy. No, it is not buy, and it is sell, and I want to sell 1.5 lots. If I press OK, here I have a sell order. The stop loss is 200 points higher than the entry point, and take profit is 400 points lower than entry point. If I drag and drop it here again, I wouldn't have any other order because it is restricted with this line of code, with this if condition. And if I close it and again run it, is it buy? Yes, it is buy, and I want to, for example, buy this amount of lot. If I press OK, here another buy is run. So in the next chapter we learn how to modify them, how to, for example, trail the stop loss. But the conditions, the principle for example, sending a sell limit or sell stop or buy limit or buy stop are exactly the same, and you can easily test them by yourself. And now that we learned how to send an order, we learn how to modify an open order. So in the MetaTrader, for example, imagine that here we have an open order for Euro USD. We have a buy order here, we have stop loss, and we have take profit. And for Bitcoin we have another open order, for example one sell, and again we have stop loss and take profit. You can see the open orders here. Each order, when it is open, it has several parameters. For example, here this is the ID of order. Here is the time that order is opened. Here is the type of order, whether it is buy or sell stop or buy a stop, or sell limit or sell limit. The lots and the size of the order is here, the symbol of order is here, and other parameters. We have several parameters. To access these parameters, it is important first we select the order. For example, if we want to change the parameter of this order, whether it is the stop loss or take profit or even its lot, first we must select it, then after selection we modify it. So how we can do this selection? We can select them by their ID, which is here, or by their positions. What is positions? Here the positions for this open order is 0, for this open order is 1, and so on. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So in this PowerPoint I'll explain more. The first important things that you must remember is that we have a temporary memory. When we select the order, whether we select it by the ID or by its position, all the data of the order would be saved in this temporary memory, including its lots, including its stop loss, take profit, type of the order, ID of the order, magic number, and so on. All of them would be saved in this temporary memory, and we can access them by a certain predefined functions. But order modify, to modify our order, but you must remember that, for example, if I select, for example, an order, I can access to its lot through order lots predefined function. For its stop loss can be accessed through order stop loss predefined function. For the take profit, we have order take profit. For the type, we have order type. For ID, we have order ticket. And for magic number, we have order magic number. What is the magic number? For example, for a specific pair, we have several open orders. Each of them are open based on some, for example, strategy. And when some conditions is true, we want to close those orders which have, for example, magic number 1000. But we want the orders with magic number 1001 stay open. So just again remember that when we use order select and select the order by, for example, its position, and I show you how, we would save its parameter in a temporary memory, and then we can modify it. And this predefined function is very similar to order send. And for example, first we give it the symbol, then the time frame, lot, and so on. And even we can use order close to close an open order. And again, it is very, very similar to order send. We have the symbol, time frame, lots. How many lots do you want to close? For example, if you have one lot open for a share or pair, you want to, for example, close half of them. So we can use order close. So now that we learned that, we go to MQL and we test it. I, for example, close these orders. In the last sections, we learned how to send an order. Now, after sending an order, I just simply select the order and modify it. How to do that? I use order select, and parenthesis, the first one is the index. If I double click and press F1, the index or order ticket. And the next one is flag, and the third one is mode. It may seem a little sophisticated, but it is not. It is not at all. I show you, see here, mode trades. We have two type of mode trades and mode history. Order select from trading pool and order select from history pool. What is trade pools and what is history pools? See, this is trade pools, the orders which are open, and history is here, the orders which are closed. And come back here. The next one is flag. Flag is very important. You want to select it by position or you want it to select by ticket. Here I want to select it by position. So here I use 0, and then index is select by position, and if I do not define search section, it automatically considers that we want to use the mode trades and use that to open order pools. So first I select the order with the position 0, and then I define a for loop. I want to modify it, for example, 3 times. Int I, and it is equal to 0, while I is less than, for example, less than equal to 3, I plus plus. And I want it to modify the order each time this for loop is executed. So I want to use order modify which ticket? The ticket of selected order. How we can access it? Here we said that to access the ID, we use order ticket. So here we use order ticket to parentheses. Then in which price you want to do that? I want to use it in ask price because I want to do it in ask price because in this case I want to send an open buy order. If it was sell order, we must use bid. So stop loss order stop loss minus, for example, 200 point, and take profit order take profit plus again 200 point, and we don't have expiration time, and the color is 0. I completely explained to you. It may seem a little complicated, but you can be sure that it's not complicated at all. Well, if I compile it, let's have a sleep here so we can see the result better. For example, sleep for 2000 millisecond, and then if I compile it and run it, I want to have a buy order and with this lot size, and if I press OK, nothing would happen because here it is the auto trading is deactivated. If I activate it and again run it and press OK, the order is open, and then after we had some problem. So we have a problem here because we select the order and then go to the for loop, but we must use this order select in the for loop. I explain completely. First you just see its performance, and then I explain completely, and we can here have an alert after the for is over. We can hear an alert that it says the modification is over, and we close it with semicolon. I compile it. Now I drag and drop our expert advisor in Euro USD, and we see how does it work. Let me to close this indicator, and now I have an open order. I close it. If I drag and drop it here, first an order would be open, and then after 2 seconds it would be modified, and the take profit go higher and stop loss go lower. It repeats it for 3 times, or for 4 times, excuse me, for 4 times it would be repeated, and then we would have an alert that the modification is over. So if I press OK, an order is open, and then it modify it, then again modify it, again modify it, and after 4 times you would have this message, the modification is over. This is how we modify our code. But how does it work? For the first time that this for loop is executed, I is equal to 0, yes, I is less than 3, so go and execute this for. It come and select the order with its stop loss, its take profit, and all of them. Then we modify it. In the order modify predefined function, we put the ID of selected order, then the ask, then we want to modify the stop loss of selected order by 200 points. We want it to be 200 point lower. Then we want to modify the selected order take profit by 200 points. We want the new take profit be 200 point higher, and so on. And then it sleep for 2 seconds, and it plus I, and I would be 1. And here again it checks 1 is less than 3, and again repeat this loop. This system works like this. I know it might be a little complicated, but it is very simple. You must just remember that first you should select the order, and when you selected the order, all of these datas, order ticket, order stop loss, order profit, take profit, all of them would be saved in a temporary memory, and then you can access all of them in your order modify predefined function. In this section, I'm going to teach you how to define a function, and we start this section with this fundamental question: what is function? Actually, function is a black box, and it contains several lines of codes, and we may not be even aware of what is these codes. And it gets several inputs. The user gives these inputs to the function, and it returns an output. In some cases, it can be even several outputs, but we usually 95% of the cases, it has only one output. So it gets several inputs and sends several outputs. These inputs, for example, can be the entry point, and for example the stop loss, and for example the risk percent. And the output can be, for example, the optimum lot size, and it gives us, for example, instead of giving just only 1 or 2 lots for each order, we give it the entry point and the stop loss. And for example, we want to risk 1% of our balance for each trades, and it returns as, for example, a lot size that with this lot size, if I hit the stop loss, we only lose 1% of our balance. So how we define it? We define it like that. First, we must write the output type. The output type. What is the output type? For example, here the output type is double, because the lot size contain numbers after points. So they must be real number, and we use double. Then the name of function. For example, here I give the function optimum lot size name. Its name is optimum lot size. And then the type and name of inputs. How? For example, the first input type is double, and its name is entry point. Then the second input type is double, and it is stop loss. And then The third input name is double, type is double, and its name is risk percent. For example, or here we have a predefined function. Why we call them predefined function? Because they are already defined in MQL and we don't have to define them. Here we have IRSI, we used it before, and it returns a double value. The output is a double value and it has several inputs. For example, the first input is the symbol and it is string, then time frame, then period, applied price and shift. And this is exactly what we see. Remember, this is what we see. We must enter the proper values here, but this is what we see. If I go, for example, in the MQL language, if I write IRSI and open a parenthesis, I see them here. This is what I see. So it is important for the name of the symbols, use something that the user, whenever saw it, whenever the user see it, immediately realize that what parameter should he or she give and enter here. For example, if I see it here, it is symbol and the type is string. So I know immediately I must enter something string related to the symbol. Then the second one is time frame. As I see the time frame and it is integer, I realize that I should enter the number corresponding to the time frame and so on. In the next video, not this video, in the next video in our channel, I teach you how to, for example, write calculating optimum lot size. And with this optimum lot size function, we easily can return the lot size regarding the entry point, stop loss, and the risk percent that we are going to accept. So first, remember that we define the function out of the main void. Here we write a function, for example, it returns a double value and it is optimum lot size, but it is not the exact function that I'm going to teach you in the next session. I just want to see here how it works. And we have two parentheses. In the parentheses, the first input type is double and it is entry point, in which price we are entering. And then the next one is the type is double and it is stop loss price. And this last one is again double and it is risk percent and it is a real number. Then two brackets and we have a code here. We have an entry point and a stop loss and risk percent. And it is in real, or we can delete this section and it is only risk percent. So now in function we define another variable. Its name is risk money, the amount of money that we are going to risk, and it is equal to the balance of our account, the money that we have here, multiply to the risk percent. So how we get the balance? We have a predefined function again to reach the balance, and its name is account balance multiply the risk percent. This risk percent here, this risk percent, the price here would be entered by the user. We see it in the upcoming, but here it is entered by the user, and we have now we have a variable name, the risk money, the amount of money that we are risking. And here we have a condition, for example, if the money that we are going to risk is greater than 1,000, for example, we want to return, for example 1.5 lot. But remember, we must use some specific codes. Here I have it. I'm using it for years. But in this case, we are going to just teach you how to use function. In the next video, I teach you how to write real optimum lot size function. And else if the risk money is not higher than 1,000, we want to simply return 3 lot size, for example. 3 lot size. Remember, here we didn't use entry point and stop loss price because I just want to teach you how to simply use optimum lot size. But I'll teach you in the next video where we use entry point and stop loss and risk percent to calculate the exact lot size. But just here, remember it, I compile it, we don't have any error. Now, for example, this function is down here, and we coding our program, and in a line of program, we want to use the optimum lot size. And its name is by lot size, and it is equal to here, because the function is defined here. If I write the name of the function, it would immediately appear here. I just use opt 3 word, and then I can see the function optimum lot size here, and I can press enter, and with parentheses as predefined functions, for example, as RSI indicator. Here we have the name. For example, we defined the first variable name is entry point, and it must be double. For example, here it is ask, because I wanna have a buy. Then the second one is stop loss. What is the stop loss price? And for example, I say that it is the ask minus 200 points. And then the last one, the risk percent. How much money do you want to risk? I want to risk, for example, 0.02, 2% of my balance. I want that. And if I compile it, and I think we must have, for example, an alert for the lot size is equal to So now if I compile it and drop it into the windows, the one windows, for example, here, and press OK, it returns 3. Why it returns 3? Because, for example, here if I use a calculator, the balance is 4,453, and if I multiply it to 0.02, it would be about $90. It is less than 1,000, so it says you can trade with 3 lot, But if I, for example, change the risk here, if, for example, I risk 30% of my account balance, it is very high, and we would never do that. I just want you to see it. If I compile it and drag and drop it here, it returns the lot size is equal to 1.5. Why? Because again, if I use calculator, the 30% of my balance, 30% of my balance would be 44.53 would be 1,336 almost, and it is higher than $1,000, so it returns 1.5. Remember, we can define too many functions. For example, I have a here. This is the includes I'm going to teach you in the next video. But here in this includes, for example, I have a function to calculate the optimum lot size. I have a function to see whether the new candle has start or not. The next function, for example, is simply just symbol open orders. For this specific symbol, how many open orders exist? Or here, the time that market close, it returns. For example, if I drag and I use this function in, for example, an Apple share, it returns the time that New York market close. But if the share is in, for example, in London session, it returns the time that London session close. Or for the Tokyo session, we would have again the same thing. It is written by myself, and so on. Or here I have a function. If I use this function, it automatically close all orders for the specific symbol, and so on. So we can have as many functions as we would like. Now that we learned how to define function, here we must in our code have the function so we can call it. Here I called the function because in my script I had this function, but I prefer to be able to call this function in all of my projects. For example, if I had 10 or 20 expert advisor, I don't want to again start writing this function for each of them. I write it once and then save it in one include, and then call the includes in my new script. How to do that? First, click on File and press New, Include. For example, we give it a name, Test Include, and press Finish. This is our include. I copy and paste the function that I have written. I cut it actually and paste it here, and now I compile it. Now in this script, as I cut the function, if I compile it, I would have error, optimum lot size, function not defined. This optimum lot size is not defined anymore here, but it is defined in our include here. I just need to add some codes here, some line of code, so I can use all functions that are saved in this test include. And it is very simple. We just use sharp include this to sign, and then copy and paste the name of the include. Its name is with the MQH name. This is its name. I copy and paste it here. And if I compile it, I wouldn't have any error. And if I anywhere in my code write optimum lot size, it would automatically give me a suggestion to use this function, and I can easily access to the function that I have, all the functions that I have written. I have copy and pasted them in my includes. This is how we use the includes. Includes are like library where the functions are saved in them, and whenever in any projects, in any code, in any strategy we need this code, we just simply call the include and we can use all functions saved in this include. So to this section we learned how to code and how to program our codes and how to work with the MQL language. Now I teach you how to program your strategy and using Expert Advisor. Here until this section we only used script, but now we program our strategy in the Expert Advisor. The strategy is not a strategy to trade, it is a strategy just to learn how to program a strategy, and it is a simple moving average crossover strategy. We write it down together, and it is look like that we have 3 moving average: fast moving average, slow moving average, and a reference moving average. The fast moving average has 14 period. The slow moving average has 21 period, and the reference moving average would have 50 period. And we program our code. And whenever we are higher than moving average reference, we only allow to buy, and when we are lower than moving average reference, we only allow to sell. And when we are higher than moving average reference and the cross between moving average fast and slow happened, where the moving average fast cross moving average slow to the higher price, we would send a buy order. And when the price come below both fast and slow moving average, we close our order, and we repeat exact principle for selling. But in this case, when we are lower than moving average reference, we only allow to send a sell order, and to send a sell order we must have a cross to the downside, where the fast moving average cross the slow moving average. So I open MQL editor and I press file and new. I open a new project. Here instead of script we press Expert Advisor and I press next, and the name is moving average crossover. I press next, again next, and finish. For Expert Advisor we have 3 different sections. The first one is on init, the second one on dinit, and the last one is on tick. On init, the code that is written here will only executed once, and it is when the Expert Advisor is executed. It will only run and executed once. The code that is written here on dinit will executed whenever the Expert Advisor is deactivated, and it will be run only once. But whatever we have between on tick section would be executed once when we have a tick price. When the price tick, this code would be executed once. So whenever the price change, this code would be executed. So now we want to define several inputs, for example, and all of them are external because we want to be able to change them through the window. And the first one is external, and the type is integer, and it is moving average, reference period, and it is equal to, for example, I think 100 would be okay. If it was not okay, we can change it. And the next one is extern again, and the type is integer, moving average, slow period, and it is equal to, for example, 21. It will be simple moving average. The next one is extern, and again integer, moving average, fast period, and it is equal to 14. This moving average would be exponential moving average. Then extern, double, risk percent, it is equal to, for example, 0.02. But remember, in this project I don't use it. I just want you to be familiar with this type of code. We usually have an external variable for risk percent, but because we haven't learned how to program the optimum lot size, in this case we don't use it. We use a constant lot size in this strategy, and I define it. It is a double, and lot size, for example, for each trade it is equal to 0.1 lot size. And now I think they are okay, but whenever I needed some other variables, I can simply add them here. If I compile it, everything is okay. And now I go to untick section. First, we must define 3 moving average, and they are double, they are moving average. Moving average slow, it is equal to I moving, it is equal to I moving average, and symbol, then time frame, period current, we want to use the current time frame, period, moving average slow, period, we use the moving average slow period, and then shift, it is 0, then method, what method? Mode, simple moving average, and applied price close, and for shift I prefer to use 1 because I prefer to use the data regarding the closed candles. When I use 0, the candle is not still closed, so the value of moving average would change, but I prefer to use the value corresponding to closed candles. So I close it, and then I define another moving average for moving average reference, moving average here, reference, moving average reference, and for the period I use moving average reference period, and the other sections would still the same. The other inputs stay the same, and another moving average for moving average fast. The name is moving average fast, and the period is moving average fast period. The mode is exponential, EM, exponential moving average. So we have these 3 moving averages, and now I define a condition. If orders total is equal to 0, I want to execute the code between here, and if it is not 0, it means we have open order, then we must have a strategy to close our order. And as I mentioned, when the price come lower than, for example, it is open, when the price come lower than both fast and slow moving average, we would close the order. And the code regarding to close our orders would be here. So first, I implement the code regarding to open an order. So if ask is moving average reference, we only allowed to send, we are allowed to send by order. Else, again, else, for example, I copy and paste this else here. Else, we only allowed to send sell order. So remember, this if is for sending order, the else is regarding the close strategy, regarding close order strategy, and a strategy to close the order. But here, strategy regarding opening orders. We complete them step by step. Now we must first check based on what conditions we want to send a buy order. Again, another if I forgot, we are supposed to define another 2 moving average. This moving average slow is corresponding to candle with the number 1, and I need another slow moving average, and it is corresponding to the candle number 2. So the shift here would be 2, and for the fast we have again the same one. I explain why. This is moving average fast for candle number 1, and this is moving average fast for candle number 2, and here shift would be 2. We want to check the condition for sending a buy order. We have an if condition. Here we say that when moving average fast 2 is less than moving average slow 2 and moving average fast 1 is greater than moving average fast 1, it means a cross happened, a cross to the upper side happened, and we must send a buy order. How? For example, if I open the data window, for example here, if the moving average fast is less than moving average slow, but in the next candle moving average fast is higher than moving average slow, it means we have a cross and we must send a buy order. This section exactly check it. And we want to send a buy order. Order send. Symbol. Then command OP buy, then volume. The volume was lot size. But remember, in the real strategy, we don't give the lot size by ourselves. We calculate it through optimum lot size function. And the price here, because it is a buy, the price must be ask, and slippage is 0. Stop loss, I think stop loss, it is better to always have a stop loss. Although here we have a close strategy and we try not to close our strategy by stop loss. We try to close our strategy whenever a cross to the downside happen. But I use a stop loss, for example, 200 point, and I don't use take profit. No comment. Magic number 1000. 0 expiration time and 0. Here we will send a buy order. And here for this, if when we are only allowed to send sell order, we must check some condition. This else would be executed whenever the price, the ask, is lower than moving average difference. We can, instead of this else, we can define another if where we can use bid is less than moving average difference, but because in this scale the bid and ask does not different a lot, we can use the ask for checking the moving average difference and whether we are higher than moving average difference or not. But you can use another if instead of else, but I prefer to use else here. And again, we have an if condition whenever moving average fast number 2 is higher than moving average slow number 2, and at the same time for the next candles moving average fast number 1 is less than moving average slow number 1. This means we have a cross to the downside, and in this, when this condition is true, we want to send a sell order, and we send a sell order send symbol command OP sell, volume is lot size, price is bid, slippage 0, stop loss is bid, for example plus 200 points or 20 pips. Take profit, I don't use take profit, no comment, and magic number 1001, no expiration time and no color. I close it. Now the conditions for sending an order is complete, and then I check it whenever we had a problem. We can debug it. For example, here we have an error. What is our error? Moving average fast. Here it is not defined suitable. Is moving average fast 1. So if I compile it, then again we still have an error. We must use one here. And if I compile it, I don't have any problem, but when we had a problem, we can debug it, and in another video I will teach you how to debug your code, and you can find the link to that here. Whenever I upload the video, I would give you the link here. But now the order will send properly, at least I think so. If it was not the case, we can debug it. Now I write the code regarding closing our order. So I want to have some criteria where I can realize that the order which is open at the moment is buy or it is sell. For this purpose, I define a Boolean variable. It is buy and it is equal to true. Is buy, it is equal to true. When I send a buy order, I want to give a value to is buy and it is true. Or I can delete here and it can, the first time that the code is running, it can have no value, but when it has no value, automatically it would receive true value. And if I compile it, then I think, and if I send a sell order here, I want it to be false. So now that we have an open order, I want to check when to close our order. So in the else section, regarding close order, I check if is buy is true. Instead of using double equal to true, if I only use is buy, it means whenever it is true, go and check this if condition. But here, because you are learning right now, you can use double equal to true, but you can delete these sections too and only use is equal. And it says that whenever the open order is buy, check this section, else when it is sell, check this section. So when do we want to close the order? If when ask is less than moving average fast 1 and it is less than moving average slow 1. When these conditions are true, I want to close order. Here between these two brackets, I want to send a close order. I can simply write it here too. And order close. But it's better to, I think, like that it would be better and we can see it better. Order close and the ticket of the order. To use order close, we must first select the order. So we use order select and the index is 0 and we want to select it by its position. Select by position. And then I want to close the order. The first parameter is ticket, and because we have selected the order, we have access to its ID and we can access it through this code order ticket, then the lot size, all of it, and all of it is order, lot, double price, ask, slippage 0 and 0. This line of code would close the buy order. And for this section, when it is not, when the open order is not buy, it will check this else here, and here we again have an if condition, but the if condition regarding the sell order, and we have an open sell order. We want to sell it when we want to buy it when bid is greater than moving average fast, moving average fast 1 and bid is greater than moving average slow 1. Here we have an error because this bracket is not closed. This bracket is not closed. If I compile it, we wouldn't have any problem. So if bid is greater than moving average fast 1 and bid is greater than moving average slow 1, this means close the sell order, which is open, and then again first we select the order and then we close it. I just simply copy and paste this section. Just remember we must close it. Excuse me, here remember, because we have a buy order and we want to close it, it means we want to sell a buy order. So in this section, when we want to close it, we must close it in bid. But for sell order, first when we open a sell order, we open it in bid. But whenever we want to close the sell order, it means we want to buy. So we close a sell order in ask. So I compile it. I suppose everything work properly, but we check it in strategy tester, and when it had some problem, we come back and solve them. Well, before I record this session, actually I tested the strategy and I realized there is two problems. One of them is here, moving average fast 1. Instead of moving average fast 1, we must have moving average slow 1. I reviewed that and here I fixed it, moving average slow 1. But the next error that we have, actually it is not a systematic error, and while I compile it I have no error, but there is a bug in my code which actually it can be very dangerous, and it may not happen during a month or 2 months even, but whenever it happens it can blow up my account. So that's why it is very important to always before implementing a strategy, you test it. You test your expert advisor by using a strategy tester. I show you and you can see what is the problem. Then I'll teach you how to solve this problem. So here our expert advisor is complete by correcting this section. After correcting this here, in order to be able to change the inputs, as I mentioned in the input session, we must define a property here. It is sharp property script show input. Without this property, we wouldn't be able to change the inputs here. So I compile it and I open MetaTrader. First, remember to access your MetaTrader, your expert advisor, instead of script. Here we must open expert advisor, and in expert advisor we have our moving average crossover here. I activate auto trading and I drag and drop it here, and from this section I have access to changing my inputs. If I press OK, here I can see it is written moving average crossover with a smile emoji. Actually, it means that moving your expert advisor is running properly and it can execute orders because it is smiling. When it was not smiling, it means that it cannot sending order. Whether, for example, in this case, maybe auto trading is off. But now the market is closed and we test our expert advisor with strategy tester to see whether this strategy worked throughout the past or not. So for this case, I open strategy tester from view, going to strategy tester. If I open it, the strategy tester window will open. Here, this is strategy tester window. In this section, first this section must be on expert advisor. Then from this section, I choose my expert advisor here. Our expert advisor is moving average crossover. I selected expert advisor properties in strategy tester. To change the input, you can use expert advisor properties. If I click on it, the first thing that I can change is the initial deposit. For example, I want to start this expert advisor with 10,000 US dollar, and it is allowed to open both long and short position. It means it can both buy and sell. I can restrict it here. For example, it just allow your expert advisor to do buy positions, to send buy positions. In the input section, I'm allowed to change the inputs. And optimization, it has several parameters, but they are not actually at the moment important for us because this course is for basic. I press OK, but you can work with them. They are very simple. Here we have symbol property, and I don't find them very important actually. You can here choose the period. In which time frame do you want to test your expert advisor? I want to test it in 1 hour time frame. Here I can choose on which pair I want to test it. I want to test it on Euro USD. In this model must be on every tick because we want to as precise result as possible. And in this section I want to test it from 13th of September to today. And if I click start, first it download the data, then it start testing it, and we can see the result. I press start. First it is downloading the data, and here we didn't see the test because the visual mode is deactivated. I activate it so I can see the result. If I activate it, and here I couldn't see the result because the optimization was activated. I deactivated because I want to see every details of its performance. So and click on visual mode. If I click start, this window will be open. I have a template for moving average crossover. I already added the reference slow and fast moving averages. If I click on this side, then we can see that the expert advisor is running. So here we are lower than our reference moving average, and we had a crossover to the downside, and it opened a sell order, but before the price cross up, it hit the stop loss. So I let it to run. Here again, the price is lower than moving average reference, and we have a cross to downside, and we opened a sell order. The expert advisor opened a sell order with 0.1 lot. We see the result, and here when we had a cross to the upside, the order is closed. But here we have a problem. This is the problem that I realized, and I want to show you. Here we had a problem. What is the problem? As you can see here, several orders have been opened. Why? Because before this candle, we have a cross. We have a downside cross, so we must open a sell order. So in this candle, it opened a sell order. Then this candle price go higher than both fast and slow moving average. So it immediately close open order. But then this candle again coming down. And because its prior candles have cross moving average, again it opened another order, and then again it goes higher than these two moving average, and it closed the order. And as this candle fluctuates for several times, several order has been sent. We must limit out our expert advisor to run sending order code only once per each candle, and it must be at the start of the candle. Normally you don't have such code in your expert advisor, you don't have such code, but I have written this code and I made a function and save it in my includes. Here I have a most common includes. One of them is new candle, I think. Yes, one of the functions that I saved in my most common includes is new candle function. Is new candle function have an input, and it is the time frame. This function will return true when only once per each candle, and it is when the candle starts. So this function, when this candle starts, one time it returns true. When this candle starts, it returns true one time, and it is for the first tick. This candle may tick 1,000 times or even 10,000 times in its based on its time frame, but this function only return true for the first tick of this candle. It is very important and it is very useful, and I teach you how to write it in one of my video. As I uploaded the video, I give you the link here and you can access it through the description of this video too. It is very important and very applicable function. I use it a lot actually. You may even be able to write it much more efficient than what I have written here, but basically this concept is very important and you can use it a lot. So how to restrict sending order to send order to check sending order only once per each candle, and it must be at the beginning of the candle. Here if orders total are 0 and the new candle has started, and I use my predefined function, but I can't have it. Why I can't have it? Because I haven't called my input. First I call my input. We use sharp include to call our include, and I copy and paste its name here, sharp include, most common include, and I compile it. I can compile it because this end is not complete. And now if I say is new candle, is new candle, the function that I have written and it is saved in my include would be suggested, and I can use two parentheses. It has an input and it is the time frame. I use current, I use period current, and if I compile it, it would work properly. And again, I stop it, and let me compile this include and then compile the expert advisor, and then I'll test my expert advisor again and press start, open this template, and it will work properly. I fast forward the video, and if it is over, I'll come back to you. So our test is over, and let's see the result. Here in a strategy tester, we have several sections. The one is setting, then optimization result, then graph, then these two sections, we don't work with them, but the result is important. The result contain all open orders, and for example, the profits. Here we lost $16, but here we gained $15, and we can see the result here. We gained $126, and so on. All open orders. Here we can see the result with a graph. We started from $10,000. We reached to about 10,100, about $50, and then it drops to this point, and then it goes up. So we can realize that its result fluctuate, and it's not always profitable, but you can use the different parameters, for example, different moving averages for each pair or shares, and improve the result, optimize the result. So the report here is important. How many bars we have tested? 3,730, and then the initial deposit was 10,000. Total net profit, we at the end of the test we have lost about $57. Absolute drawback, total trades 98 trades. We had 98 trades. From these 98 trades, the percentage of short position, it means about 17% of the short positions closed by profit, and for long position we again have about 16% win rate. The loss rate percentage is very high, but remember that when in some orders the expert advisor lose money, it close immediately, but when it go in profit, actually it led the order to stay open as long as possible, so we can maximize our profit. So with this session, actually our teaching is over. To this point, actually you learned how to run, how to write, and how to implement your strategy with expert advisor through MQL language. You learn your proper tools to implement your expert advisor. But remember, if you look at the help of MQL, there are too many functions, too many tools that you can use them. You must write them always. You must improve your abilities, your programming skills. But still there are too many different videos that I'm going to upload. For example, I want to upload a video regarding how to program an optimum lot size. I want to upload several videos about the lucrative strategies which can be used to gain money, or different techniques that can be used in any markets. I also want to give you several free expert advisors that have written by myself. I also want to upload a video regarding how to debug your expert advisor, how to automatically draw support and resistance, and through the time, as time goes past, actually I give you the link to important videos in the description of this video. So please check it a lot, because whenever I upload some videos that can be related to this video, actually I actually give you the link to those videos in the description of this video. So if this is your first time watching our channel, I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, so whenever we upload a new video you can easily access them and you can receive a notification to watch them. And please, if you liked this video, hit the like button so the YouTube algorithm introduces us to those persons who are interested in this subject. And please, if you have any suggestion, leave me a comment. I will read them and consider them. Thank you again for watching this video until the end. I wish you all the best. Have a good day.